All right, folks, welcome into another edition of Buffalo Game Day Recap as we break down the Bills' dramatic victory against the Chiefs 24-20. There were a lot of similarities between this game and the playoff game last season in January. However, the final result, obviously the big difference is the Bills get that win. Now, can they do it in the playoffs if they meet again? Sports Director Thad Brown joins us live from Arrowhead Stadium. First off, Thad, what were your initial reactions from the game as the Bills pull out this win in the end?
AJ, this game in a lot of ways felt like a division game. These two teams know each other intimately. They've played each other twice each of the last 2 years, so it might as well be a division game. Everything was hard. Both teams, they know what works against each other, they know what doesn't, they know how to stop things, and you saw that throughout the game. This was not the fireworks show that was promised. Thoughts and prayers to everybody's overbets. Almost all of them lost in this game. But in the end, a couple things stuck out. Number one, the Bills grabbed Von Miller for this very moment, and the guy delivered. 2 sacks. Look, the second one was obviously the defensive play of the game, arguably. I know Taron Johnson had a pick. I know Kyer Elam had an interception. But getting Kansas City off the field when the Chiefs had a chance to close the game out with the ball, that's why the Bills spent that $51 million on Von Miller. Now, in the locker room, Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones and Jordan Phillips were talking about, yeah, you see Ed Oliver getting the sack, but all of us are, making plays, moving guys around, getting penetration, and they're right. Without seeing the film from this game, in general, it's been a team effort. But still, look, Miller was the guy who was supposed to be the closer, and he was that in this game. Not necessarily to finish off a win, but to give the Bills a chance to have that come from behind situation. Look, Josh Allen was Josh Allen. The Chiefs, again, like I said, they know what works against the Bills. They know what works against Josh Allen. And you saw there were large stretches of this game where the Chiefs' defense was relatively successful against the Bills. At the end of the day, though, it's who can make the last play. Josh Allen did it in this game. That's all that matters. This season is about find a way. They don't got to put up 8,000 yards. I know Josh Allen hurdled a guy again, and we might talk about that later on, and it was great, and it was super eye candy. All that doesn't matter. Win the bleeping game. The Bills did exactly that, and now this season is set up so that they will probably have home field in the playoffs, an excellent chance that when they see the Chiefs again, probably in January, that game will be in Orchard Park.
Yeah, you talk about the addition of Von Miller. Obviously, he makes the big plays, the big money, things like that. But all of the other additions as well on that defensive line stepped up big. I mean, Jordan Phillips, he had a big sack. I think we were forced a holding penalty. He was disruptive in the first half. Daquan Jones obviously doing what he's done all year long, eating up double teams. Allowed Matt Milano. Matt Milano had another tremendous game just locking down Patrick Mahomes in the rushing game. Last year, Mahomes had over 60 rushing yards in both of the games against the Bills last year. This year, he ended up with 4 for 21. Most of that was in the fourth quarter. He came into halftime with just 1 rush. He was escaping out of the pocket a little bit, but it wasn't that, electric Mahomes doing Mahomes things. They were able to hold him in check. You're right. This win, they're going to go with, it's just one game. It's just, it's the next game. It's whatever, yada, yada, things like that. Such a huge monumental victory for them. Obviously, everybody talks about, oh, they finally beat the Chiefs. Well, they did it last year in the regular season. It's going to matter what they do in the postseason, but such a big win in order to get that game at home, and maybe you have to play one less playoff game than the Chiefs.
Yeah, this win, last year's win in the regular season was kind of the Bills ascending. Wow, they can do it. They can go and beat the Chiefs and maybe be the best team in the AFC. This win was confirming it. Now, it wasn't quite the way many expected. Like I said, it was a lot more of a fight, a battle. They had the scratch and claw, all that stuff. But this affirmed the Bills were the best team in the AFC, and this laid out the road for the Bills to get where they want to go. I mean, this win really by itself isn't that big a deal. We talked in the preseason about this Bills year is going to be about the games they play in January, not the games they play in October. But the importance of this is now you have a game-and-a-half lead on the Chiefs for the number 1 seed. And when you do play those games in January, there's a really good chance they're going to be at home in Orchard Park. And that's why this win is important, even though, look, if they stub their toe in January, no one's going to look back at this game in October as any kind of meaning. Same as last year when they fell on their face against the Chiefs, fell on their faces strong. But regardless, lost the playoff game at the end of the year last season.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes has never played a true road playoff game in his life. He might be on his way to do that this year. Offensively for the Bills, first half, Devin Singletary looked like, as I tweeted out, a man possessed and a man who didn't want the Bills to trade for Christian McCaffrey. He was just destroying those light boxes, getting 9, 10 yards. I don't know what happened in the second half. They tried to get him going again. They turned to him in some big spots on some short yard situations. Once again, that's going to be another talking point for this Bills, is not being able to get it done on those short yard situations, not being able to get it done in the red zone in the first half. This is one of those games where it could have been a lot. Bills could have had 20 points easily in that first half. That's a big issue that they need to work on going forward. Figure out where their bread and butter is when they don't want to make it Josh Allen just rushing the ball like they eventually turned to in the fourth quarter.
AJ, with the running game part of it, Singletary in the first half, look, without, again, rewatching it or being able to see what the light boxes were, the gut feeling for me was the Chiefs were kind of giving that, saying, look, if you want to try and run the ball, we'll be okay with it. But we're not going to let you get us down the field. And it worked up until the final drive of the first half, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then I think in the second half, it felt like when the Chiefs needed to make a play to stop that run game, they did. So to me, the run game is still a big question mark, but it's not on Devin Singletary. You give him lanes, you give him space, he's going to make plays. Christian McCaffrey, to me, would be a really good addition for the Bills as a receiver, not as a runner. I don't think he's going to fix the running game in that way.
Yeah, and then also Isaiah Mckenzie, another tough game for him. He had the drop. He got tripped up a little bit on that, that pass into the end zone, a play that you would like to see him make. Another tough game for him as he tries to, establish himself. He dealt with a concussion, obviously, trying to establish himself as that slot receiver. A tough game for him there. Stefan Diggs, a guy who really hasn't done much against the Chiefs in the past. That was kind of the one player who hadn't really stepped up in these Kansas City games. Just dynamic, getting plays when they needed to the most, key third down plays, a lot of plays where I'm sure the play call was just Diggs, get open. Really big to rejuvenate that offense, and made some big plays, also on that, that last drive in the first half there, Thad.
Yeah, Diggs in this game, you kind of notice the absence of Tyreek Hill because of the way Stefan Diggs was playing. You look at these two teams, who are the stars? Who made big plays? Well, Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Juju Smith-Schuster, got to give him some credit. He was a big play guy for the Chiefs offensively, not quite to the Ty Hill or Stefan Diggs level, but still involved. Chris Jones. On the Bills side, it was the usual suspects. Von Miller, Josh Allen, and of course Stefan Diggs. With Gabe Davis able to come up with the big plays late in the first half on that one drive, he was relatively quiet otherwise. You needed Diggs throughout the rest of the game to keep the sticks moving. I thought he was very important on the game-winning drive. And again, I think the end of the first half, where the Bills were able to go 99 yards in basically a minute and put points on the board. I know it turned into another 13 seconds, part two. I know 12 seconds this time. But to me, I thought that was a game changer. I thought that spaced out the Chiefs defense a little bit. It forced them to respect the ball down the field. The Bills were able to burn them in a couple big-ish plays in the second half. So as much as Stefan Diggs was a guy that, has been relatively invisible the last couple times the Bills played the Chiefs, he was not that in this game. This game was about the Bills stars. We talked about Von Miller, Josh Allen, Stefan Diggs were the guys who led the offense. And again, the drive at the end of the half to me, was a big turning point. I know the Chiefs again responded, but I think without that drive and without the Bills kind of, refreshing that, look, we can hit these big plays down the field. We can, be a quick strike offense like we were the week before. I don't know if they're as successful in the second half.
And you talk about the absence of Tyreek Hill. In the past before with this Chiefs offense, you had Tyreek Hill, you had Travis Kelce, you had Mahomes being scrambling and running out of the pocket, things like that. You couldn't let them all get theirs because that would just be the entire game. But tonight, it seemed like they were like, all right, Travis Kelce, it seems like he's going to get theirs. But they were able to focus more attention on Mahomes, kept him inside the pocket, didn't let him beat them with his feet. And then everywhere else, it's like, where's that third piece? Juju Smith-Schuster, like you said, did have some big plays. But without that extra threat, it seemed like that, that last drive where, Taron Johnson came up with the interception, it almost felt weird. Like, I was like, wait a second, this game's over. Like, it doesn't feel like it should end like this. It just seemed like it was destined, with sound of the past. But yeah, somehow the Bills were able to get him off the field with that pick there.
You did feel like it did feel weird that the Chiefs didn't have a drive. At least put a couple first downs together, get past midfield, and have a chance to get that game-winning touchdown. But the Bills snuffed it out right away. And give a lot of credit to how this young secondary played. Again, I know that the Chiefs put up their numbers, but Kyer Elam, Christian Benford, Damar Hamlin, they did enough Taron Johnson, if you want to put him in the youngish category, to salvage a win for the Bills. They weren't going to be dominant. This was not going to be 38-3. But in a spot where you're facing this Chiefs offense on the road, kind of the chips were down a lot of the way. These young guys, I thought, did a really nice job. Even though Von Miller had a couple sacks, and you talked about the pressure, to me, I thought the Bills' secondary was the bigger driver of defensive success in this game. So you got to pass that credit around to all the guys back there who don't normally play.
Yeah, especially a week after Kenny Pickett and the Steelers' offense, targeted Kyrie Elam mercilessly. Patrick Mahomes a little bit different there. They definitely held up, did their job. You hold any Mahomes offense to 20 points, you did your job. So the Bills go into the bye week. Thad, what are your takeaways from going forward? Thoughts on this game? What are you kind of looking forward in the future here now for the Bills?
One more big reaction to this game. If the Bills don't win, the talking point afterward is why the heck do the Bills coaches fall apart when they come into the stadium? First drive of the game, the Bills are cruising down the field. Ken Dorsey runs that option pitch to Isaiah Mckenzie, and I'm sure if you asked him about it, he'd say, oh, it was great in practice all week. It just felt like the wrong call when the Bills had everything working for them on that first drive. Number two, again, 13 seconds, part two. Forget about nicknames. We don't need nicknames, 13 seconds, 12 seconds. Let's just call it garbage defense, because that's what it was. To give that up again after you had done it last year, brutal. The 3rd and 1 call on the second to last offensive possession, another, what are we thinking with this situation? So, look, the Bills got the win, so we won't have to talk about that. But this coaching staff continues to come up craps in terms of, snake eyes. I'm using dice references, whatever. I hope I got them right. When it comes to playing games in this stadium. And, hopefully this is not something the Bills have to, show up in again next year. But when they're going to be more big games to this level, probably 2 of them in January. I don't want to say that I question the coaching staff because they're great in general, but it seems like when they come here, things start to go bad for no particular reason, and it was a big, reason why the Bills had to have a rally at the end of the game. Regardless, look, they're 5-1. You went to go back to the beginning of the season. I think most fans would have signed up for 4-2, maybe at least understood a 4-2 start. Instead, they're 5-1. They got a Green Bay team coming in 2 weeks that before the season we would have thought would have been a tough game. The Jets just thrashed them in Lambeau. So you think Buffalo should be able to handle them. And the rest of the season, you've got a lot of very winnable games. So the Bills, all they have to do now, it's going to be much easier said than done. Handle your business for 11 weeks. You don't even have to go 11-0. 9-2 would probably do it. And I think anything less than that would be seen as a super disappointment. So for Bills fans, enjoy the bye week. This season is set up exactly how you want. You're going to have 2 games at home to win the Super Bowl, barring some sort of disaster. Hope the team gets healthy. Injuries have been an issue. Spencer Brown, by the way, told me after the game, severe is a bad word. Bad ankle sprain, not a break. Bills catch a break there. But back to what I was saying before. The season's set up. It's a red carpet ride. Just walk it. Just go where you got to go. Win your 2 games in January, and this team's going to the Super Bowl. It wasn't super pretty in this game, but it was good enough for a win, and now everything is laid out for the Bills going forward.
Yeah, 2 things on that. I was looking pregame at the season-long win totals because they still put these things out. Coming into the season, the Bills were at 11, 11.5. Coming into this game, it was at 13.5 before they beat the Chiefs. So now you got to think that number is 14. You're probably not getting all the way to 14.5. But obviously, the expectations, you talk about the schedule, the 1 seed, things like that. The percentages have got to be lining up good for them to get that number 1 seed. And back to the coaching point, obviously we don't know at this point, but it did kind of seem watching the replay that Josh Allen flick over to Isaiah Mckenzie might have been a little bit more improvised than the play design itself. Mckenzie certainly didn't seem ready for it, so that might have just been Allen doing too much Allen things than a Ken Dorsey play call that might have gone wrong.
Hey, that's still coaching, AJ.
Yep.
Look, I know Josh Allen has a lot of latitude to improvise, but at the end of the day, if you're running that play, at some point you're telling Josh this is something you can do. Look, if he's flipping a ball to Isaiah Mckenzie who's running a ghost jet motion and he's not supposed to see it, I can't. I guess you could put it on. If Josh is going to come out and say that I did that all on my own, then fine. But Mckenzie seemed to be there to take an option pitch and seemed to be ready to catch a ball. So at some point, that's one of the options on the play. Again, not necessarily the execution of the play that bothered me, but the Bills didn't need it. Just keep giving the ball to Singletary, let Josh play straight-up passing game, and you're probably in the end zone up 7-0 off the bat. Losing that possession, turning it over, even though the Chiefs came down and gave you an even dumber turnover at the end of their first drive, really started this game on a train track down to it's going to be a battle, it's going to be a fight. We're going to have to scrape and claw to where maybe if the Bills score a touchdown there, it would have been a much easier walk for them today.
Yeah, especially when moving the ball on that drive was just so gosh darn easy. So Thad, any final thoughts before you get up on the plane, get back to the Kansas City airport as you've been doing a lot lately?
Just, looking forward to a bye week. It was funny. So I'm sure a lot of the Bills, I didn't talk to everyone about maybe generic win stuff, but I heard quite my share of it's one game, it's the next game, all that stuff. Well, Tim Graham, credit to him from The Athletic, turned that right around on Jordan Poyer and says, well, you're gonna beat the bye week next week, right? Because that's the next week. And Poyer's like, oh, no, I'm chilling next week. So am I, by the way. Looking forward to a weekend off.
Exactly. And McDermott talking extensively how about his family is going to be really excited about this week because they get a much happier Sean McDermott during the bye week as opposed to the last two calamitous collapses at the end, late game going into their byes. So the Bills go into the bye week on a high note at 5-1. Coming after the break will be the Packers at night, so you won't see us on Buffalo Game Day Recap. But until the next time we see you, you can watch us on News 8 at rochesterfirst.com. For Thad Brown, I'm AJ Feldman. Enjoy the rest of your football weekend and enjoy the bye week.